Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess. Today we are at the new topic of an opening against the Queen's Gambit and we are going to discuss the Budapest Gambit. As few sessions before I started the concept of how to decode a gambit, how to understand whether a gambit is sound or unsound. Now we are taking it further. We are going to look at an opening which will give good option against Queen's Gambit. We will get active positions and let's see what it is all about. So today we are going to cover the accepted part. Let's get to the position first. D4, NF6, black controls E4 and after C4 black goes E5. So we are going to discuss the accepted part where white takes the pawn on E5 and today we will focus on the line where white wants to hold the pawn because most players are uncomfortable in giving the gambit because they fear that if I don't get back the pawn then what will happen. But the gambits are meant to give the pawn to get better development, more space, more center control. It's not to get back just the pawn. So see, black goes with NG4. He wants to win the pawn, but along with it he wants better position. So we are going to focus with the move bishop f4 today. If NF3 is played, then bc5 comes. White has to play e3 and then he cannot support e5 with bishop f4 anymore. So that's why first bishop f4 is necessary. Black goes nc6, some players go b4 check first as well. nf3 and now black wants queen e7. So first bb4, he doesn't want to get his bishop blocked. And now white has two lines, knight c3 and knight d2. We will try to touch both of them today. Knight c3 is the main way to hold the pawn at any cost. White goes nc3, now queen e7 and white has the only way q d5, but he is able to hold this pawn. Firstly, now black plays bishop c3 bc, settling up the white pawn structure there on the queen side. But now what to do, because he can't attack e5 anymore without giving up the pawn permanently. The first problem is if castle, then there comes h3 and knight has to go to h6 when bh6 is almost winning for white. So black has to go with f6. Now h3, then just knight e5. So ef, nf6 and black has lost the pawn permanently. What he gets is c2 open files, nicely placed pieces. The bishop on c8 will come out faster than f1. So he has decent compensation. So this is the main line where white holds the pawn. So let's see how the play goes on. Queen d3, d2, d1, all the three are there, but d3 is considered best. Black has to play d6, otherwise c7 was hanging. And now white has two ways. Either he goes d3 with g2 or he goes e3 be2. They are the only two ways to make the bishop active. First let's look at e3. After e3 castle, be2, king h8. Very important move. The knight wants to jump to e4. The squares in front of the doubled pawns are very important. The double isolated pawns. The knight wants to come to c5. And let's see. After castle, he goes ne4. So what king h8 did is stop the move qd5 for future use. And in this whole opening, you will see again and again white wants knight d5 to trade off this knight. And knight d4 cd would do him good. And black mostly tries to go ne5. See, this is a case where nd4 can't be met by ne5 because e4 hangs. But white has to be very careful here. There are very few moves which work. Queen c2 or nd4, they are absolutely necessary. If rook b1, then after bishop f5 you can see black is almost winning. In fact, one of my students had this same position in his game. And now see, rook cannot take b7, there is knight c5 and anyways there is the threat of knight g3. If the queen goes to d1, then also knight c3, it's a hopeless position. So of course we should assume white would play qc2 here, which happens to be the better move. After nd4 though, we should play bd7 and after knight takes, bishop takes, we see the bishop eyeing the g2 square. So if bf3 now, there will be knight c5. So perhaps f3 and now knight c5, queen moves, ra e8. Idea is simple. Black usually tries to combine play on the king side and on the c4 and the c3 pawns. This position happens to be roughly level. Definitely try in your games. Now see, the threat is g5 and e3 can be taken. Okay, so this position looks great and do let me know how you are finding these positions. Let's go to the other line now, that is the move qc2. This happens to be the main move. After QC2 now, bishop f5, then bd3. That is why QC2. So see, first knight c5. Now again threat is bishop f5. And if bd3 then takes bishop f5, queen is attacked, and after the queen move, bishop settles on e4. Threat is bf3. And after any knight move, now there is knight e5. Black knight is very well placed. After bishop e5, the d4 knight is driven away. Knight b3, rook d8, forcing the queen away. See, qe2 was met by bd3, so queen has to go to b2. And now see, queen g5. Black gets a splendid position here. f3 is not possible. f3 would hang. g3 would make the king side weak. So this position we can see is very good for black. In many senses, I feel that the g3 move is more logical. After g3, bg2, the bishops will be open. So let's look at that now. After g3, black goes castle. This time this bishop has better avenue. It can go to bg4 after bg2, and after castle, rook e8. See, e2 is bit weak, and after the move rook e1, we can see rook f1 would cause some problem on the f5 later, and here to the move king h8. See, black generally does king h8 before planting his knight to e4. He doesn't want any qd5 checks later on. So here also we will see the same line, nd4, then knight e5. This idea is very common. And now bishop e5, d, knight b3. If b6, then there will be c5. See, we don't want this. After bc, the black structure is spoiled. So black himself plays c5. He wants to use e4. Queen eyes the f7 square from which we can pressurize c4, and queen is heading to h5, bh3, knight g4. So attacking plans are there. Again, this position is great one. Do definitely try in your games. I do play online games and I try this opening a lot. Soon I will play some games and share my games with you as well. So overall I feel the accepted line provides black with very good play. The main concern for many players. Now let's look at the line nd2, which was once considered as the refutation of the Budapest Gambit. Let us see why nd2 is so dangerous. After the move bb4 check, white just goes nd2. He has simple one idea in mind, that get this bishop for the knight on d2 and then use his bishop pair, slightly better position, but he pressurizes black. So black has to generate adequate play. Let's see, there are some lines where bishop pair will be there, but black gets some attacking chances, and in others he won't give up the bishop pair easily. Let's see how. So firstly, queen e7. Now queen d5 is not there, so e5 can't be supported. There are two main moves. One is e3, which is the main line. Other is a3, bit inferior. After a3, black need not worry. He just recovers on e5. Knight e5. Can't take AB because nd3 met. Same after knight e5, AB. You can see knight d3 checkmates. So this is a very simple trap. Nothing great in this. But the main point is, if now bishop e5, then after bd2, qd2, qe5, we can see that it is black who is marginally better. After let's say e3, b6, pe2, bb7, castle, black has choice between short castle and long castle. Generally b6, bb7 means he wants long castle. Otherwise he can do short castle, d6 and bishop f5 as well. So you can see that black has created an imbalanced play over here. Thus after knight e5, white can still try the move e3, which is also okay, but then he should not play a3, I feel. And now see, bd2, qd2, d6, be2 and castle. After castle, black does b6 idea, bb7. This is also a very good idea. Now if bishop e5, then de5, bf3 can be met by just rook b8. See. And now next move will be e4. So let's say b4, then e4. And after b2, now bishop has nothing on b7. So just b6. We can already make out same plans. Rook d8, queen g5, generating play on the king side. So this is also somewhat very slightly better for black, I would say. Thus now we need to know the reason why this line is not played very much at the higher level. Do note that at highest level, any line which has less complications, where the opening moves are not confusing, they are mostly avoided because they don't want the opponent to have easy play. Secondly, in this line we will see a variation now where white has the bishop pair. Let's see that. White goes e3 and now see knight e5, knight e5, knight e5 and be2. So what white is trying? He wants to snatch this bishop and even make the black position worse. So what he is going to do? He will do castle, nb3 and a3, and see, look at this bishop. If black has played d6, the bishop will struggle on a5 or c5 and knight into c5, and that position black doesn't want. So there, this move which we are going to see has a very important novelty which revived this line actually. There comes d6 first. We did not worry about qa4 check here because after qa4, knight c6, now bd2 is threat. So white has to do something like rook d1 and bishop e5, then we can just do d when bishop on b4 would be supported. Okay, also bd2, qd2, queen e5 is same like the previous line, slightly better for black perhaps. Castle, this is the main line, and now the very important move a5. We have to harass this knight on b3 with a4. So knight b3, threatens a3, a4, white still goes with a3. Point is simple, after a takes b3, a takes b4, rook a1, queen a1, we see that the b3 pawn is weak and white is better. There is queen a4 check coming and the pawn would be lost. But here comes the novelty, bishop c3. Terrific move. Idea is not very clear at first what's going on. Black is behind in development, he is surrendering the bishop pair, he is giving up the pawn as well. Let's see, after bc, ab, qb3, see the position. White has 4 developments, black has just 2 it looks like, and see, pawn down also he is. But see the position now. After the move, knight d7, the knight retreats as well. Okay, but still what happens? The knight is heading to c5, rook will go to a4 because this rook is already active. It's like a developed piece, and we see black getting a very good play. See, for example, bf3 and c5, qc2, castle, and you can make out bishop is heading to e6, rook doubling coming up, rook a4, rook f8, and black has a splendid game. Either c4 or a3, one of them will be taken, and black will have a better endgame as well. Here the bishop pair, see, bishop pair can be considered very good when both are active. Look at the f4 bishop. It's not a great piece in this position. Hence black is getting a very good play over here. So definitely we can try this opening. In next lesson we will try to look at the nf3 line, and also we have to look at the declined lines so that we can play the opening successfully. Do try this opening in your online games first, and then if there are any problems you can share with me in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and found something new from it. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.